EDA meeting here this morning, Thursday, September 4th, 2025, here in Chambers. Could we get a roll call, please?
Beezer.
Here.
Kursula.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Kirsch.
Here.
O'Day. Sandy.
Here.
Yeager.
Yes, here. All right, first item here is an approval of the agenda. The agenda is in front of us here. Does anybody have any changes, substitutions, additions to the agenda, please?
I need to abstain from 5E
Okay,
from voting.
got it. Any other changes? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve our agenda so we can move forward here.
Move to approve Kursula.
All right.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. First item here is our consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters listed are considered routine by the board and will be enacted upon in one motion. There's no separate discussions on these items unless good cause is shown prior to the board voting on the motion to, and this will be adopted by roll call. This includes the approval of the minutes, the financial reports, the Swanson Hascamp report, the DDBC report, and the Visit Brainerd report.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion to move to approve and a second. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Beezer.
Yes.
Kursula.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yep.
Kirsch.
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yep, very good. Consent calendar is approved. We'll move on to our unfinished business. Our first item here is the consideration of the extension of the Camp Realty brokerage agreement. This should be found on page 22, I believe, in your packet. And I believe our presenter is Jennifer Hascamp. Are you with us, Jennifer?
I am. Good morning.
Very good, thank you. Take it away.
So before you this morning is essentially a very short addendum for the real estate exclusive right to list the properties that were identified, which include the TC Industrial Park and the Wright Street extension. The other piece of this is actually removing the annex building, which was initially added as addendum number 1, basically removing addendum number 1 from that listing contract as well, and extending the period in which the listing is valid. Actually, I think it came to James's attention perhaps in the last month or two that the contract had actually expired. So this is simply a request to extend it through, I believe it's December of 2026, so another year and a couple months. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Very good, thank you, Jennifer. Does anyone have any questions for Jennifer? Please.
Yeah, Jennifer, Gabe here. I have one question before we terminate addendum number 1. We received an offer on the annex, and we had quite a bit of discussion on it. And one question the council had that I think still persists is, how much is that building worth? I mean, as our broker, what would you recommend we list it for, sell it for, anything like that?
So I would have to review. I think we actually had an appraisal completed. Is that correct, James, if my memory is correct?
That is correct. I could send it out to the EDA if they do wish to see that. A lot of times these are kind of up to negotiations, you know, kind of based on what that tenant or buyer is willing to improve versus what the city's willing to approve. But, you know, if you want that number, I can certainly email it out to you.
Well, I'm aware of what we've done. I was just wondering what our broker thinks the value of the building is.
So typically, you know, to sort of add on to that, typically the appraisal is fairly accurate. It depends, again, it goes to James's point of some of it is how much the city is willing to put into it prior to its sale. And then that can certainly affect the value. Obviously, you may be able to contract for services that would improve the building at a cheaper rate than what you would then get your return at. So some of it is, you know, if it's an as-is existing condition, then the appraised value is likely fairly accurate. If there are certain things, like I know there was discussion about whether or not you would fix, for example, the elevator. If you were to do that, obviously you may get a bigger return than what your cost to actually make that improvement might be. So I'd be happy to look into it a little bit further. I can't give you a number right now, but understanding some of those, you know, pieces as to whether or not you would actually invest in some of those things would impact certainly what that price would be, and then how we would list it.
Okay, thank you. So you're telling me that people generally pay more for better things and less for not as good things. Thank you.
Well, I
Very
think that-
simple way of saying it, yes.
Very good. Any other questions for Jennifer?
When would be the appropriate time to talk about the Brainerd HRA?
I was going to ask that come up whenever we're done with other questions other than that, I guess. And I'm thinking we might break this apart into, do we want to break this into part in two separate motions? One to terminate the contract on the annex and then a second to extend the other contract? Or can we just do it in one motion, James?
I think things could be done in one motion,
Okay.
and I think maybe before we do any motions, just have a discussion on what the HRA is proposing with the Rice Street property.
Very good. So do we have any questions other than the HRA question at this point for Jennifer? Okay, very good. Mr. Charpentier, I'm going to turn this over to you just to kind of shed a little bit of light on what the HRA is looking at, and then maybe get Jennifer's reflection on kind of what our position, what the position might be, and just make sure that everyone's understanding. So please, Mr. Charpentier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the authority. Submitted to James and then to the commission earlier this week was a letter from myself on behalf of the HRA, just expressing some interest in that Wright Street extension and the two parcels that are associated with that. As our board continues to look for projects in and around the city to find development opportunities for housing, this is parcels that we have had our eye on. We've talked about it at our board, understanding that the EDA has control of this, the city of Brainerd owns it, but recognizing that that's a potential opportunity for housing. We have engaged with two different developers just to gauge their interest on any housing projects out there before coming in front of the EDA board. Did meet with James earlier this year just to verbally discuss this, to let him know that we had some interest in this on behalf of the board. So he's at least aware of that, and just knowing that we're working towards something but don't have anything concrete yet. So as we look at Camp Real Estate upping or re-upping the listing agreement with the EDA, we are also looking at the potential of working as well with the EDA to try and get these parcels sold or get some development interest in those, specifically just for Wright Street. We certainly would want to work in tandem with Camp Realty, but if we are bringing the developer to the table, we would respectfully request that the EDA and Camp look at potentially excluding those parcels from that listing agreement if we come to the EDA that's with an acceptable development offer. Understanding that certainly if Camp has worked with that developer prior to our involvement, that they should be upheld with that agreement and paid that commission. Just wanted to get that in front of the EDA as you were looking at re-upping that listing agreement, just because we are trying to move that thing forward as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Charpentier. Does anyone have any questions for Eric? Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn this back to you, Jennifer. My assumption is that you've heard, is that this is not landing on you anew this morning. Is that correct, Jennifer?
So unfortunately, it is.
Okay.
I just read it actually this morning. I apologize. I'm actually on vacation. And this was just communicated, I think, over the last couple days. So there's a couple of things that I would respond to. One being the fact that the way the contract is written right now is it is an exclusive right to sell, meaning we would have to make some adjustments to the contract language based on what's being requested by the HRA to the contract specifically related to Wright Street. That can be done. I'm not opposed to that. It's just that the contract would need some additional clarification because right now it essentially does give Camp Real Estate and Development the opportunity or the rights, if you will, to that transaction.
Okay.
So we first of all need to make that adjustment to the contract. The second piece being exactly how we would do that, and perhaps I need to work with James and Eric as well, because obviously, what constitutes, first contact or relationship, if you will. I mean, our firm put out the signage, for example. So, is that the point of contact? Did they see that, or is it somebody or something that the HRA went out and directly contacted them? How do we sort those sorts of pieces out, because obviously we put money into this on our side. So I'm not opposed to it. It just logistically has not been worked out exactly how those particular properties get addressed in terms of the contract and the language.
Understood. Thank you. Mr. Kramvik, sounds like you have something here.
Yeah, so today, because the property is still owned by the city of Brainerd, this is essentially a recommendation to city council. The contract would have to be finalized with city council potentially at the next meeting. So it could be a recommendation to add a provision in the contract with that. I could work with Jennifer on finalizing what that looks like. Our city attorney would review it as well. So I think that's a potential.
Very good, thank you. So before we do all that, I'd like to just get a basic consensus from us, from the authority, that that we are open to letting both the HRA and Swanson Hascamp work on this property kind of simultaneously, or at least in kind of what we've described here. So first, we need to have an appetite for this to happen before we move it along to James and Jennifer to work up a new contract. So if you guys have any thoughts, or if we can just get, some sort of a consensus for James to move forward, go ahead, please.
I apologize if I missed any of the information. I was doing some dad duties this morning, but I'm just a little confused at why specifically these properties on Wright Street. Is there an actual project or developer that you can't actually tell us about yet? I mean, I know we've talked about having housing back there. I don't think that's the ideal place to plan for housing unless it shows up first. But
So how I would respond to that, Mr. O'Day, is that we also think that there's a good opportunity for housing there. We are continuing to explore all options within the city of Brainerd for land that is available, that can be conveyed potentially to entice development. We have reached out to 2 developers specifically to gauge their interest. We've got a follow-up meeting in October with one of those developers. And so it's difficult for us to work through that if we don't have any ability to kind of say that these are available. Certainly we could refer them to Jennifer if that's the will of the EDA and the council. But we believe that, again, with our goals for producing housing within the city, we're just trying to do our part.
It's the land cost, Mr. O'Day, really. It's, we have a few chunks of land within the city that could be basically shovel-ready very inexpensively. That's very appealing to developers. So that's the mindset, or how, I guess, the conversation got started on those pieces.
okay, I think I understand that part. I guess my general feeling is that we're kind of putting 2 partners against each other and pitting them against each other when we could still just work together, and it would put less muddy water on the contract. It keeps things clean to keep things the way they are. I think the HRA and Hascamp can still work together. That's just my opinion.
Sure. Anybody else?
I
Yeah,
just
please.
have one side question. As long as Jennifer is okay with this agreement, the one thing that hasn't been talked about is the commissions for the Brainerd HRA. If this does go through, like, how much would the Brainerd HRA receive in commissions?
Oh, I don't think the HRA would be looking for any commissions.
Oh.
It could be, am I correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, none, 0. So we're just looking to get housing built at the HRA. So
Just one.
I'm speaking on behalf of the HRA, sorry, but we're just looking to get housing built, and so we're looking for land that can be transitioned into development at the least possible upfront cost. So you're right, we're kind of competing against each other, and Swanson Hascamp, at least from my chair, has been a valuable partner so far. So I really feel like we should only move forward this if we feel like both parties feel like they're in a balance. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I guess I have a question for Eric now. Like, I know it makes it more expensive to have a broker that would need 3%, 5%, whatever the deal is, but do you have a challenge conveying that information to the developers that you work with?
It's not a challenge to convey it. It's just,
It's just more money and you've put in the work.
Does it
Yeah.
pencil out? I mean, that's the issue. It's not the commission, it's does it pencil out to actually bring you know, whether or not it's affordable housing or market rate housing, it still has to pencil out for that developer. So that, you know, that's the challenge. That's where we try to find ways to offset either infrastructure costs or cost of land. And that's what we're looking at it from that standpoint.
And Jennifer, the agreement on this property, that's a 1 year agreement, is that right? Is that
1
right,
year and
Jim?
a few months here.
1
so.
year and a few months. Because I mean, the other angle at this is that, from my chair, is that we could go ahead and sign the agreement with Swanson Hascamp, give her exclusivity. If something is in the works, a year to develop is not unreasonable. For instance, if we have a participant that maybe wants to work on some housing out there, to say, look, we've got a contract up that where Swanson Hascamp has this for a year, but after that date, after the sunset, we may be able to move the project forward beyond that date. So that seems reasonable to me also. I mean, a year is not that long of a term, right? So we could take that angle at it also. Mr. Charpentier?
Would just like to point out that if you're going to have a developer that is going to work on a development, not knowing that they might not have control of that land for a year could be an impediment to that development.
Sure. But the date of the year starts trickling down from day one, so it becomes shorter and shorter as the building season. We're already, but anyways, don't know what to do, guys. Looking for, yeah, please.
I'm struggling a little bit, and I think I agree with Mike about the suitability of that property for single-family residential housing, given the locale in the industrial park. It seems to me that land would be better suited for industrial or commercial type uses. So that's, I'm struggling with that. I feel like that area is not well suited to promote high density or single family type housing development.
I agree. It's a fit, but it's not a great fit, in my opinion. It's a great fit for the HRA because it's potentially a piece of land that we can get for free, basically. But it would require some zoning work there as well, Mr. Kramvik, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. It would have to be rezoned. Future land use map would have to be updated as well.
Right.
Mr. Chair, it is not just planned for single family. There would be multifamily and single family.
Right.
So it'd be a mix. as
Well, I would think it would be primarily multifamily would be the directive.
The general idea would to have the multifamily on the western side of it to act as a natural buffer for sound.
Right.
And then to the east, as you get to farmland, that would be your natural progression. I know Jennifer, that's certainly what she worked on her mock-ups as well, when she has that. And you know, that residential plan is out on the EDA's website.
Would it be fair to say, Ms. Charpentier, this is not the only piece of land that the HRA has as an opportunity to move forward right now? There are other parcels as well that we could be working on?
We would be more than happy to work with the EDA and the City of Brainerd if there are other potential opportunities out there, and Park Board.
Okay. Please. Excuse me? Yeah, please.
One of the things, if I'm remembering correctly, when we were originally talking about this piece of property, is that it would be good for workhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So for the industrial, I think it would be a good pairing if that's the workforce housing for the industrial park.
Sure.
It's close, but.
Okay, I think we have a couple options here. We could choose to move forward with the Swanson Hascamp agreement as presented. We could put Swanson Hascamp and James to work to see if we can come up with a contract that will allow both the HRA and Swanson Hascamp to work on this or to have some version of a contract for the next year and few months. Or maybe an idea that is not one of either of those. Please.
When's our next meeting? Regular meeting for the EDA?
December-ish.
December-ish. So I would, I would move that we have Jennifer and James work together to see if we can present to the EDA in December a workable agreement that exempts the HRA to work with their own developers on the property too. And if it just doesn't work out, we can come back to this in December, and I think we're still under contract through the end of December, correct? It's a very long motion.
Are we?
I moved it
I don't
right.
think we are through, James.
Jennifer to work together.
So, yeah, so we do need to extend the contract because it has lapsed at this point. So we could always make an amendment at the December meeting if all parties agree. Again, city council, this will go before city council. You could make a recommendation that you'd like staff to work with Jennifer, and if all things work out, we could add that to it, but, city council could still have a final say on what that contract language looks like. And the EDA would be potentially good then if it isn't added based on legal review.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a different motion.
I didn't hear, okay, go ahead.
I
didn't get seconded anyways.
To extend the termination date of the agreement through December 31st, 2025, and further have James and Jennifer work together to see if we can't get that requested exemption for the HRA, and I so move.
Second.
All right, we got the motion by Mr. Johnson, a second by Mr. Sandy. Any discussion?
Yeah, and I just think this will get us more answers to our questions in December. It extends our time to work on it until then. I think there's no downside to at least look into it and come back, and if it's not workable, we'll know. If it is, then we'll know we can do that. And
Yep. Understood. Yep, I agree. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Very good, thank you. All right, we'll move on to number 2. This is just to discuss the purchase and development agreement for the industrial park. This is the dermatology clinic, and I believe this is Jennifer also.
Yes, so actually this is exciting because we have made significant progress with respect to getting this purchase and development agreement put together with, I believe it's River Birch Investments is the LLC that is proposing to develop it, but it's on behalf of Central Dermatology. I went back and forth with Angie, who's sort of the administrative individual who's working on behalf of their team, actually even this morning, to clarify a couple pieces. But they obviously are very interested in moving forward, and I've been working with them over the last couple months on getting a draft of that purchase and development agreement together. So just as a couple brief sort of overview pieces or background components with respect to the project, the first being the fact that actually this did require a zoning amendment, which I think we discussed at the last meeting. You made a motion in support of that rezoning. That did go through, so now this is a permitted use, which helps enormously in terms of the process and moving their project forward. Once that was completed, we put together a purchase and development agreement. The agreement itself looks very similar to that which was originally put together when Anderson was looking at the property, multiple properties at TC Industrial Park. So the template or what we used was very similar in terms of that contract, which did help enormously, obviously, in terms of getting to a place where we have a pretty solid contract. The draft contract was actually delivered to Central Dermatology or River Birch in right at the beginning of August. I believe it was August 1st. So their team has been in review of it. We did go back and forth on several of the terms within that contract. But there are a few things that are outstanding, which we need some feedback from the EDA. Unfortunately, their team was also unavailable to attend the meeting this morning. So the intent or the hope is that there will be some discussion around a couple of the remaining items. If you can come to a conclusion or direction, that would be great. Obviously, I can do my best to answer on behalf of their team based on my discussions. But if there's anything that I can't answer for them, we would need to reconvene in some kind of work session or do something else to have to basically finish off some of these items to incorporate into the development agreement or the purchase and development agreement. So the way the agreement is structured right now, a couple of the key components are essentially, I know at the last meeting we talked a little bit about the fact that they would like to have lots 1, 2, and 3 under contract. So the way we set up the contract was basically to say lots 1 and 2 are the development property versus lot 3 is the option property. So remember, lot 3 is that third lot that they don't have a specific plan for but would like the opportunity to improve in the future. with either a structure, actually a structure and additional parking or some combination, that would be a future phase. So the way this is drafted is essentially to say that that property is under option, their option, and then they would have a certain time in which they would have to purchase it. This way, the deed does not transfer on that property. If they decide not to exercise that option, it still remains, the fee title remains with the city, never transfers over to them, which makes it much easier if that lot does not perform or if they decide not to perform on it. So it sort of it removes the necessity for a take-back provision within the contract. Excuse me. The second piece of it is that, so then the phase one or the development property itself is lot 1 and 2. On lot 2 is where the project would be for their current plans, which I just heard back from them. The square footage, I'm gonna look at my message, the total square footage of the building that they are working on right now is approximately 9,500 square feet. 7,000 of it would be finished upstairs with about 2,500 square feet finished on the lower level. So it's a fairly substantial building. That is their current plan. So that would be what is associated with the phase 1 development property. Part of what we've been negotiating back and forth with their group is that they wanted to make sure that they could essentially obtain the funding that they were looking for. So they are talking about an SBA loan at this point. So there's certain ways in which those financing terms have to be written in order for them to do that. I think we've got a solid draft that both their banker was comfortable with, also mirrors the language that we were using with the Anderson when they were looking at doing the same incentive program. They are proposing, obviously, to use that dollar per acre incentive program. Because of that, there are certain terms that have to be included within that contract. And that is where some of those questions that I have for you remain. So in terms of some of the outstanding questions, the first is, are you comfortable with the structure having basically the development property, and then the second being the option property for lot number 3. The option property does come with a condition at this point that basically says they would have 5 years from the time of the completion of phase 1 to determine whether or not they want to exercise the option. If at the end of that 5 years they do not want to exercise it, it would be your property. Again, the fee title would remain with the city throughout that entire option period. The second would be there's essentially a provision in the contract that says that they need to have the building constructed and get a certificate of occupancy within 24 months. Is that the appropriate amount of time, or do you feel like that should be longer or shorter? As it stands, the construction plans are required to be appended to the purchase and development agreement. Should this be a requirement, or would you rather, or be comfortable with more, fairly substantial plans, but maybe not to full construction? One of the reasons for doing this may be just so that we can get the purchase and development agreement memorialized, solidified. And if we're waiting for the full construction plans, that may take longer. There's pros and cons to doing both, obviously. And then the last question, which is a little bit of a bigger one, is the fact that because we're doing the dollar per acre incentive program, there are you must address the employment requirements within it. And so we've got to establish whether or not we're going to require a certain number of jobs, a certain amount of employment growth, or is it really just maintaining the number of employees they have today? And if that's the case, for how long they have to maintain that employment level. We have some flexibility with respect to that employment component, but for the state requirements, we will have to establish if we're not going to require a certain amount of employment growth, for example, we have to put that into the purchase and development agreement so it's well documented.
Very good.
So I know that's a lot, but hopefully we can make our way through all of those.
No problem. Thank you, Jennifer. It's my intent to just kind of take these one item at a time, these 4 bullet items one at a time. Before we do that, do we have any other kind of global questions for Jennifer? Okay, without any questions, we're going to jump right into the kind of the first open item here is, are we comfortable with an option agreement associated with Lot 3? Note that if an option is exercised, an addendum to the contract will be required. I believe, it was my understanding that we already took action on the 5 years and that we had already given the direction that was where we wanted to go. Is that not right, James? Or
It seemed like there was general consensus that the EDA, was certainly interested in that. City council kind of weighed on it as well. I know city council kind of bounced around whether it's 3 or 5 years. Certainly it takes some time to develop properties once you've already invested significant capital in the other one. So from a staff perspective, I probably would recommend the 5 years.
yeah, and from mobilization on the front end and final work on the back end, 5 years really isn't actually that long. It's probably an actual buildable window of something like maybe 3 months, or a non-action window of only like 3 years. Sorry, not 3 months, but is that
That's correct.
okay? Yes, please.
My memory is the same as yours, Kevin. I thought we already acted on it. I thought we were comfortable with the 5 years on the third lot.
Very good. Does anyone have any other thoughts other than the 5 years? Okay, so I think we're good on that one. Do you have the direction you need there on that one?
I do. I just want to make, so when we spoke about it the last time, there was some discussion about the 5 years, but there was discussion about what was the appropriate way to structure it. So, and we didn't have sort of a proposed way of handling it. So the option by calling it an option property, it puts less specificity, I would say, into what has to happen on lot 3. And I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with that, because when we spoke about it the last time, it was as if we were talking about them all in a package. The way this is structured, lot 3 wouldn't necessarily, we don't necessarily need to have construction or development plans for it, which is different than if we had said the fee title would transfer on all 3 of them, and then they have a performance timeline on lot 3. So it's a little bit of a nuanced difference, but we did not talk about it in that way. And I just want to make sure that it's understood that lot 3 would be an option. We aren't going to have specific plans for it, and that you're comfortable with that. And then obviously the second piece was the 5 years, which I agree there was some consensus around.
Okay, does everyone understand? Yeah, please.
Go, Tony.
So when does the 5 years start? When does that clock start? I think we should have clarification on
I
that.
think it would be, Jennifer, the question, did you hear the question?
Yep, it's after the building, the phase 1 receives the certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
Gabe?
And it's my understanding that when we talked about lot 3 before, it was for a potential compatible business or even expansion of the dermatology clinic. With this option as it's currently structured, would it still be requiring that there is some type of expansion or economic development out there?
Yes, it still would require that it's going to have the same, like as it stands right now, for example, we've got that the building value is 4 times what the estimated market value of the land is. So it would still carry some of those same standards or requirements. But to your point, the specificity would not be there in the same way. But what would happen is that would all get laid out as part of the addendum if they decide to exercise the option. So then you could, of course, say, we're not comfortable with this. We want you to change some terms of it during that addendum, because it's essentially a whole addendum to the contract. So it's just, you would be spelling that out as part of the next phase, if you will.
So if they exercise the option, we would address it then?
Correct, through
Okay.
addendum.
And then we would have the right to say, we don't like a parking lot, we want more building, that kind of type of thing. So it sounds as though we would retain control on what the actual scope of work would be once they decide to move forward. Is that right, Jennifer?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, please.
I'm good with that.
I think she already answered my question, but I just want to make sure that it is required lot 3 option would require a building, not just a parking lot, correct?
Correct.
That's right.
Okay, great. That's fine by me.
Okay. So it sounds like, do you have the information you're looking for here, Jennifer?
Yes. that was
Consent-
helpful, thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, unless there's any further on that, we're going to move on to the construction improvement to receive occupancy 24 months. Is this an acceptable term? Should it be extended? Less, more?
Seems fair.
I agree.
It's typical for financing on commercial.
Sounds right to me. Any other questions or objections to the 24 months? All right, we'll move on to the construction plans required to be appended to the PDA. Should this be required or more conceptual plans with an estimated budget acceptable? Any thoughts, anyone? I'll weigh in on this. I am not a fan of conceptual plans being turned in as a part of a project. And the basic reason that I object to this is because I believe that when an entity presents those plans, all of the people who sees or absorbs those plans thinks that's the project. And the reality is that those conceptual plans may not be anywhere remotely near what they actually end up with. So that's always my concern with conceptual drawings, conceptual plans, is they're made to look really nice and pretty and all of that on the front end to really get buy-in, and trees and vegetation, they look fantastic and all of this. And then down the road, we end up with a project that doesn't resemble those conceptual plans at all. So I'm not sure what my suggestion is to clean that up. My preference would be is that if plans are submitted, that they be as close as humanly possible to actual scope of work versus just pretty pictures to get people excited. Yeah, please, Mr. Sandy.
My question, I think, is related to kind of financial security within the purchase and development agreement. And if we're basing this PDA on conceptual drawings and estimated budget, is the city and EDA protected to a level that we're comfortable with the terms of like financial security that's within the PDA? That would be my biggest concern, and I share the concerns with Kevin that conceptual drawings are only as good as what they look like on paper, and having an actual construction set of drawings with a not hard budget, but at least a more refined budget, I think is more appropriate in this circumstance. But I'd like to hear what is currently written in the PDA as far as financial security to get the project completed.
Jennifer or James, please.
So I'll let Jennifer answer that. It's one thing that could be considered by the EDA is similar plans that you'd see in like a CUP, where have your site plan pretty much down. You can't change those things. Elevations are down. You submit your floor plans, but it's minus the electrical, plumbing, mechanical, final plans.
Like a
that might
50
be
or
something
60%
appropriate.
set?
Yep.
Yeah. Jennifer, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to comment on. I think there's sort of somewhere in between that we might be able to get to. The challenge, of course, with the purchase and development agreement is that, obviously if they were not looking to explore the dollar per acre incentive program, they could just make a purchase agreement for what they felt the market value of the land was. You may or may not accept that, but let's say you did accept that, we wouldn't have their plans at all. In this case, because they want to, explore or go down the path of the dollar per acre program, obviously it makes sense that we've got plans that are appended to this purchase and development agreement to make sure that the improvement value meets a certain threshold that we're looking to achieve as one of those performance standards within the contract. So, but to James's point, having a full set of construction drawings will make the actual PDA portion of this go and be significantly extended and put a little bit more risk, might be the wrong word, but risk on the side of the developer in terms of they obviously would like to see a contract so that when they start putting real money into all of this, that they also know that the contract goes both ways, both sides are committed. So, but I do agree that there might be a way to do this where it's like just like a CUP site plan is, you can't move this. Elevations, floor plans, if they move some stuff around and their electrical, mechanical, that kind of stuff is not complete, I'm not sure that would significantly impact what the public would think, to your point. So I don't know.
Well, it seems to make sense to me. I mean, the developer needs to get to a 50% set on the plans just to have an idea of what the cost of the scope of work is, though that's kind of the exact same documents that I'm saying would be attached to the PDA. My assumption is they wouldn't be moving forward with the project unless they had an idea of what the scope of work is and the cost, and they can't get that unless they are committed to drawing at least some version of plans to about 50% completeness. In the work that I do, that's kind of about where that threshold falls. And so that's the documents that I personally would like to see over renderings, but open to anyone else's thoughts on that as well.
I'd just like to chime in and say I agree with that completely. Those would be required for their SBA loan as well. So they should be working on those and should have something.
So I think what we're saying, Jennifer, is that we're not looking for 80, 90, 100% plans, but we are looking for that roughly that what would typically construction prelims, that'd be your 50, 60% set of plans, somewhere right in there. Does that sound reasonable?
I think it does. I will certainly pass it by them. They have been working with a design build contractor, which I think they showed a concept at the last meeting. So I'm assuming that would be acceptable. I will certainly verify with them.
Okay, very good. Yes, please.
Would it be reasonable to require that being complete exterior plans?
Yeah, usually like that set would be floor plans, outside elevations, and a pretty well-developed site plan. So it would be all 4 elevations, 4 floor plans, and then a site plan in that set.
So being in an industrial park, I don't think our landscaping would be required as much as a regular commercial property, but it would be nice to just know the full extent of exterior plans, including landscaping.
Yeah, and I think that would be the case no matter what. The project would need to meet our codes out there, or our current ordinances out there either way. Even if they're not represented on the earlier sets of plans, they would need to have that. So, correct, James?
Yeah, I think we would want to see kind of a base landscape plan with this as well. Again, our industrial zones probably do have the least requirements for landscape plans. So certainly them adding something along the thoroughfare that comes through there, might be appropriate in this initial set of plans.
Very good. Okay, so I think we're going to move on to our employment requirements. Because this is a $1 an acre type project, do we have an appetite here to have, some version of employment requirements? Yeah, please, Gabe.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
Do they plan on expanding the number of jobs?
So my understanding is that they've got their current staff, which is in their current operation, and that the building would be constructed to allow for, I think she said, 2 additional doctors, which then are supported by 3 additional staff persons. They don't know the timing of when they would or when they would bring those individuals on. And so, but essentially the space will be sized so that they can expand within the proposed footprint of the new structure. At a minimum, they're essentially saying that they will maintain the jobs that they've got and bring those over is the intent, obviously, into the new structure. And then obviously the potential to bring on 2 additional doctors and their support staff. So, this part of the conversation, I've gone back and forth with them a couple of times. Their preference would be to keep it as a maintain, because obviously from a timing perspective, they're just not sure when they would bring those additional doctors on. And so that's part of why this is part of the discussion in terms of how we want to address it within the contract.
Gabe?
Okay, well then, just to answer all of those bullet points, I'm comfortable with it being a maintain. You're not going to build a 9,000 square foot building and then only occupy 3,000 feet of it. If their plans are to grow, I trust it. You look at the maintain a certain wage, I imagine dermatologists make a pretty healthy wage, and if they're planning on bringing 2 of those on, I trust their plans. They're not going to build a building that outsizes them and just heat it and insure it forever and never use it. So I'm comfortable maintaining.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah, my suggestion was just going to be to keep it at or above the number of jobs that they have right now. It looks like that's the plan anyway, so it's comfortable.
Anybody else have a mindset counter to that? All right, if not, then sounds like you've got your direction on your 4 bullet points. Have we missed anything, Jennifer?
So just a follow-up question to that, the maintain what they've got, is there a certain, because we have to sort of identify the terms, if you will, within the contract itself, usually in order for those terms then to be released, because at some point in time, this essentially gets released from a contract perspective because of its, the way the program is structured, is there a certain number of time in which the employment must be maintained? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? The 5 years would align with the contract of the construction period, but we need to specify what that term is in order for us to be able to say, okay, you've met all of the terms of the purchase and development agreement. And
Good.
I just looked over at Tyler and he held up 4 fingers and his thumb, so I think 5 would be an appropriate number.
Years, not months, correct?
Years, yeah.
That's basically.
Just want to make sure, Tyler, you
Yeah.
meant 5 years, correct?
5 years. That's basically what the state guideline is. So
Right.
if you're maintaining jobs and there's dollar thresholds when you have a business subsidy agreement set in place like this for selling this land for a reduced cost. So the 5 years would be completely appropriate.
Everyone agree? Very good. Anything else, Jennifer?
nope.
Okay.
I think that covers it.
Awesome, thank you, exciting. Okay, we will move on to, James, sorry.
Yep, so is the EDA comfortable then? It seems like there's a general agreement on everything. I don't know if we want to make a motion to then not hold the special meeting.
Oh, yes, great, this gets us out of our special
Move
meeting.
to cancel special meeting.
I second. Do we have a second? We have a second on that? Very good. All right, so it looks like we're out of our special meeting as well, so well done, everyone, thank
Want to
you.
vote on it?
Yeah, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. Okay, so no special meeting. What was that, next Wednesday, I believe? I don't know what it was.
The
Next
10th.
Wednesday.
Was, yeah.
I think it was next Wednesday. All right, very good. SEO keywords. This is also Jennifer, I believe, right?
It is, and this should be really fairly quick. So I think it was at our last meeting where we had some discussion about how do we essentially bolster our online presence, especially when it came to property listings. So this is a little bit of background for you, but also we will continue to work with Mary in terms of how do we get the websites, so both the EDA's website and then also where we have our property listings to, for lack of a better way of saying it, hit better when you Google some of these things, so that our websites actually appear first. And because if you were to put in some of these keywords as it stands today, we don't show up. And so there's been some question about how do we make that happen. And there's essentially 2 different ways that we can go about it. There's what's called organic SEO, which is a way of organically trying to boost or increase the appearance or ranking, for lack of a better way of saying it, of certain websites or links. And then there's also a pay-per-click opportunity where you're actually paying to have those websites or links rank higher when someone does some of those search within their search engines. So the idea here was to give you some background about, so here are some of the key search terms that we should be thinking about. Obviously, as it stands today, we're not actively engaged in a pay-per-click campaign. It's something we could certainly explore, I would say probably as next year's contract. Obviously, it's not necessarily something we would do. That may be more on Mary's side. But essentially, if we were going to embark on a more organic approach over the next few months, essentially what we need to do is continue to refresh websites, make sure there's new content, use words that would be common to sort of those searches. And so that's what some of these things are when we went and did some research in terms of what are key terms that would come up. So this is a little bit of background for you in terms of some of that conversation we had at the last meeting, and also thinking about whether or not we would want to embark on a more specific plan, if you will, for SEO in the coming year. So maybe a little bit of a precursor to 2026, but also some of the things we can do over the next quarter to increase our presence on the web.
Very good. So you're not really necessarily looking for any action here. You're just kind of giving us an idea of what the keywords are, what the SEO plan of attack is. Does anybody have any thoughts on? I mean, the list looks like what we would want to have a search engine there, but it's a mad science. I get that. Please, Mr. O'Day.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on SEO keywords, so I'm gonna take those suggestions and say they look good to me.
Yep.
But it was mentioned that a pay-per-click campaign. I'm curious, like what are we looking at for spending? How much would one of those cost? I'm assuming you could go high or go low, but what's a round number?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I could certainly, for our December meeting, when we're talking about, and I see maybe that Mary is coming up as well, we could put together what the campaign might look like, and what those costs might be in terms of how we would approach it. And so I can certainly defer also to Mary.
Yeah, Mary, please.
Yeah,
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. We do have a keyword search campaign that has started already, just with terms of like Brainerd economic development, Brainerd development, that type of thing. And so at the last meeting, we had asked for Jennifer's insight on additional feedback for specifically the property, because we'll have a couple of different strategies here of people even knowing that there is a Brainerd EDA and what we're looking for in terms of recruiting entrepreneurs and you know, letting people know that there are opportunities available, plus what she's doing with the property listings. So right now we're spending between $500 and $600 a month on keyword search, and that's part of the Visit Brainerd campaign. And so it just got up and running in the last 45 days. And so it takes some time for those things to populate and kind of keep going. And the delay was having to rebuild the website and get that all set up and get the keywords going. And there's both the organic and the paid that's happening. So this will be super helpful. It can help us certainly inform our strategy going forward. And if we need to add anything in addition to it, we can take some time between now and the contract and decide if that has to go up or down, whether it's Visit Brainerd contract or Swanson Has Camp. But I'd recommend that it stay within just one campaign and that we don't do anything extra, that we just add the keywords that she's recommended as well and move forward in 2026. But
Okay. Anyone have any thoughts on SEO? I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like this is not really the domain of many of us up here, other than we just know
Part
that
of it
when we
is-
Google City of Brainerd, it doesn't really work that great. So
Yeah, and the City of
somebody
Brainerd-
needs to work on it.
Working on it.
yeah, City of Brainerd is its own animal, but we are seeing, and we're doing both keyword search and then we're doing some display ads. And so we are starting to get feedback from people that they're seeing the display ads, which is great, but they're two separate budgets and two separate campaigns. And so as they start to work together, but the wizardry behind it is how much do you want to spend on a bidding strategy in order to try and have these keywords hit. And so as you do it over time, it will increase the search rankings. And so we'll take a look and see if we need to jump from $600 to $1,000 a month or something like that, because obviously the more you put into it, the more ads you can get, or the higher you can pay in order for those keywords to be associated with your entity, which then takes you up in the rankings. So we need to do what we're doing now in order to figure out where it's even landing at this $500-$600, because you can spend all the money in the world and maybe still not get decent results. And so, and then the other things that will help that she's referencing in terms of organic is putting out the blog posts and updating the information with, you know, we don't necessarily have a calendar of events per se, but just kind of once a month telling a story about what's happening, updating the property listings or anything that they might have as far as updates from the sale of properties or people moving in. We can do things like that that will help increase it too. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
No.
Okay. Sounds like we're good here. All right. Anything else, Jennifer, on that?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right, we'll move on to consider the child care incentive policy. I believe this should be found on page 36 in your packet. James, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The EDA held a workshop on April 4th and discussed potential economic incentive programs for child care centers. This was done after city staff as well as a few liaisons from the EDA visited some local child care, commercial child care centers in Brainerd. At the June EDA meeting, the board considered and was in general agreement of waiving up to $450,000 in construction valuation off of building permits for both commercial child care centers as well as home daycares. So within this incentive policy that staff had put together, the proposed incentives include waiving, again, the $450,000 in construction costs, waiving all zoning permit fees and zoning application fees, and then also waiving engineering permit fees. So with that, staff is looking for EDA to make a recommendation to City Council to approve the proposed child care incentive policy for a period of 10 years, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for James? All right, the incentive was in your packet. Anybody have any thoughts on it? Move forward? Changes? You're just looking for a general consensus on whether we like it. Do you want a motion to
Well, yeah,
adopt
a
this?
motion for City Council in.
There we go.
I'll make a motion to adopt the child care incentive policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. We have our child care incentive policy. Thank you for the work on that, James. All right, we will move on to the review. Block matrix. Block matrix is back. Let's talk about block matrix. So we got the purchase and development agreement. James, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The City Council, EDA Board, as well as the Public Utilities Commission held a joint meeting on May 8th to discuss a request by Block Metrics to extend the purchase of power agreement. Staff were directed to draft a power agreement with certain provisions that were discussed at that joint meeting. The city completed a revised purchase agreement as well as Brainerd Public Utilities staff as well as city staff. Nick and myself reviewed this contract as well as our city attorney. Sent it to Blockmetrics on 7/2. Staff met virtually with Blockmetrics on August 15th and listened to their concerns, and we have not heard back from them based on that contract that was forwarded to them. Certainly they do have some concerns moving forward. We are not sure at this point if they are. BPU Finance Manager Locke updated the BPU Commission at their last meeting and indicated that he would be reaching out to the city attorney kind of for next steps. If there's any correspondence that needs to be sent on behalf of the city regarding that purchase power agreement. So with that, the EDA does have a current purchase and development agreement with VCV, not with Blockmetrics, and does have the following options to potentially consider, among some others: reevaluate the status of the project at the December 4th meeting after we hear the conclusion of the BPU contract issues, or direct staff to send a 30-day notice on October 27th if the power contract has not yet been executed, so the next steps or remedies could be considered at the December 4th EDA meeting, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Yep, please.
With the BPU contract, first of all, I'm just going to say my general feeling coming in here is send that letter on the 27th. I don't want to step on the BPU Commission's toes when it comes to that contract. Are they expecting that to be signed before the 27th? They have multiple opportunities to get that done.
There will be opportunities to get it done. I'm sure we'll be having another meeting with Blockmetrics. I can't say that contract would be done or we'd hear a final answer, but certainly there's almost 2 months between that time to try to work out something and have some type of clarity on it. So it's really up to the EDA if we want to just wait till the 4th or send that so we can look at potential remedies to our PDA.
Thank you.
Gabe?
First off, I think we should have had cake and a bounce house today because our little crypto baby is turning 4. I think I would like to reevaluate in December. Last time we had the joint meeting with the BPU, the commission asked us to specifically wait for them. So I would like to get direction from them. If they're done asking us to wait, then we send the letter. But if they still want us to wait, let's wait until they figure out their end.
Okay, you okay with that?
I do agree. When we had our joint meeting, the council, the EDA, and the commission all agreed that the commission should take the lead on this relationship. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay. Got the direction you need?
Got the direction I need?
Very good. All right. Wow. Now we are up to new business, which we have to the discussion of the consultant contracts. We just want to go through these one by one. James, how do you want to do this?
Yes, I'll give a summary to the EDA board here, and I certainly answer any questions after it.
good.
Just kind of wanted to update from the city council budgeting perspective as well. So the final tax levy has not yet been set by city council. However, the preliminary levy discussions for 2026 have the levy for the EDA being the same as 2025, which is $186,812. In December of 2024, the EDA adopted goals and action steps for 2025 and 2026. And are currently in the process of completing those. Staff have included the consultant contracts in a table on there for 2024 as well as 2025. The difference in revenue and expenditures for 2025 is expected to be about $15,000. We kind of held off on some of that grant money that we were looking to do potentially for facades or signage until the Planning Commission kind of works through that sign ordinance, which the public hearing for the sign ordinance will be conducted at the September 17th Planning Commission meeting, so we are getting pretty close on that. Staff is anticipating that we'd have a potential grant or incentive policy brought before the EDA at the December 4th meeting to consider that. So with that, staff does recommend to continue to work with the consultants on 2026 scope of services. So this would not be an approval that we'd continue to work with them, but really directing staff to start negotiations and kind of activities and action steps for them to complete within their scope of services. So the EDA then could again review everything that the consultants have done in 2025 and then potentially renew those contracts in 2020. For 2026. So staff's just looking for some direction. Do you want me to start engaging with our consultants? And, you know, what I'm potentially looking at is maybe the 20, because we kind of, city council is recommending keeping the EDA budget flat, perhaps kind of finding some type of budget in between 2024 and 2025 to have a little bit more funds for some of the programs we're looking at doing, whether it's, you know, certainly funding some of the things we're looking for, the construction project that's going to be happening on Washington Street. Funds are needed for that, as well as the signage, potential grants, as well as facade grants. So just like to get some direction from the EDA board.
Excellent. So anybody have any questions for James? Yeah, please.
No questions. Comment is yes, I do agree with moving forward. I just want to let the EDA know as a body, the recommendation to hold the budget flat was a conversation President O'Day, myself, and Nick and Connie had, and it was because we didn't foresee any upcoming changes in the needs for the EDA. So if there is some programming or something happening that there is an increase in need for money, there could be an increase in the budget. I wouldn't count on $230,000 or whatever, but if it does come up that more money is needed, it could possibly be available.
Sure. So I see as a head nodding here, it sounds like we got the green light to go ahead and start working on some 2026 contracts.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Very good. Anything else? All right, very good. All right, with that, that will conclude our new business. We'll move on to staff reports. Who'd like to start? Nick, anything?
No, sir.
Okay, Connie.
Nothing.
James.
Yeah, I did want to update the EDA. So at the next Planning Commission meeting on September 17th, Keepers Construction has applied for a 190-unit apartment complex planning development south of the Woodland Hills development. This will be a preliminary review. They're also going through an EAW, so no final decisions can be done until that environmental assessment worksheet is complete. And we are also doing some sewer studies in there also to make sure that capacity meets what they're proposing for the development. But exciting that there'll be a large project that we'll be reviewing in September.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, James. Eric.
Yeah, a couple updates since your last meeting. The Brainerd HRA on behalf of the city and worked in tandem with the city to submit a grant request to Minnesota Housing for infrastructure to support the Outlot E and Outlot F project that's going to bring another 18 units out to that development and finish that out. We submitted that in June, should be hearing back from Minnesota Housing hopefully at the end of September at their board meeting. And then just an update on 805 Laurel. We continue to be in contact with that developer. They have reiterated to me that this is a priority for them. We are currently working with Bladek to get some meetings set up with local businesses that may be interested in purchasing tax credits or housing tax credits through the Minnesota Housing to support that project. Those credits are sold out for 2025. We are starting that process now to try to get interest in purchasing those for 2026. Should be another $9 million available throughout the state. That's not a lot of money. available through the tax credits, but we do hope to garner some interest from local businesses that have tax liability that can then parlay that tax liability at the state side into a housing project of their choice. And so that does give an opportunity for people to truly put their tax money in their community where they want it. So looking forward to that, and just trying to inch that thing closer to a start line.
Okay, very good. Tyler?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Just a couple of quick updates. I know that James sent out, I don't know if it was a doodle or just the dates that for a visit out to CTC. So we have those dates available for you guys, whoever wants to go out. I think we can pick a date here fairly soon.
Yeah, so I believe that those went out and Tony's working on putting that together.
Okay. And Christy had just asked me if there was specific topics that the group wanted to talk about. Those are dates where Christy Westbrook is available, so she'll be on site to be able to tour that and tour MC Fiber, which is the new company that they have that provides their underground services. So yeah, both of those should be good. It was we had a good visit over to First Impressions when we ran over there. Justin and Paul attended along with Nick, James, and myself. So it was good to go through that building. If you haven't been through that building, and that kind of a cool old building. But and then lastly, I don't know if any of you guys caught this yesterday, but just another CTC. Christy was on the floor of the House and Senate yesterday testifying regarding the impact of fiber into our rural communities. So she was introduced by Representative Stauber and gave a 5-minute testimony, and then was asked questions. She was one of 4 CEOs, if you will, or general managers from telecom companies that was invited out to testify in front of Congress because of the changes in some of the federal programming and the federal dollars that are out there. So you get a chance, you can pop out and watch that. I believe it's on their YouTube channel, but she did a fantastic job. So it was really good to see representation from her, and she mentioned Brainerd, and this is a Brainerd-based company multiple times in her testimony. So it was pretty cool to watch her yesterday. So that's the last thing I've got.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Max? Tony? Gabe?
Nothing.
Right? Nope.
Nothing.
Whoa. Mike?
No, I don't have anything either.
Oh, me neither. All right. And with that, we'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for staff and Jennifer, everyone. So sorry.
We want to adjourn to the tour of CTC. It's not scheduled yet, but
We'll be okay just publicly noticing it.
Okay.
No, we don't. I motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to
Second.
adjourn. Is there a second? All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for your work.